Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Anime Lounge Podcast. I'm your host, Matt, alongside my other host, Lantz. Every episode is brought to you by The Anime Show. Make sure to check them out on Facebook and Instagram for all that awesome anime content that they post on there. For every episode, we have an adult beverage of choice. Lantz, what are you drinking today?
Today, I am going to be drinking some Jefferson's Reserve Kentucky.
Really old?
For some reason, it says very old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, very small batch. It's good. I like it a lot. We've had this in the past before, but it just, for whatever reason, very old has got its own stupid title, like sentence. Well, it's good. I really like it. And I've got a Leinenkugel Summer Shandy to go along with that. And what about you?
So, for me, I am drinking that Driftless Glen. And I am also drinking a Spotted Cow because I haven't had one in a while.
You're also drinking? I'm drinking a New Glarus. Sorry, I'm drinking a Leinenkugel. Did I say New Glarus?
I don't think so. But I am also, because I have my whiskey and also...
Oh, okay, that's it. Okay. And that form also can work.
Yes. And then for any of our previous listeners, we have our Japanese snack box, and it looks like some pretzel crackers with some chocolate. So Tuki Pero Stick is what it looks like, and in the English translation literally says chocolate crackers.
Okay.
So just to kind of continue on with our snacks, man, these feel weird. They have like a greasy texture to them. I'm loving just the beginning of this. Well, besides the stick leaving like just a pound of grease on my fingers, it's not too bad. It just tastes like a...
Holy shit, you're right. This is such a weird-ass texture. All right, so for everybody... Oh, that's not... I thought that chocolate was going to go as deep as these sticks went. Okay, so...
God damn.
For anybody that has ever gotten cheese and cracker sticks when they were younger, where you got a stick of cracker and then you dipped it into that shitty cheese on the side... That's essentially what's going on here, but instead of cheese, it's chocolate. So these sticks and chocolate. I mean, it's good.
Yeah, it's not bad. But we will not make people listen to us eat for an entire episode, so don't worry about that. It's not bad. This is probably the best snack we've had as far as like in a container, just snack.
Yeah, and it's not like sugar. Boom.
Yeah. But besides the pound of grease that are on my fingers, this isn't bad.
That's super weird. I've never seen such greasy crackers.
Like, I can't rub the grease off my pants either. So, I guess I'm just going to leave evidence that I was drinking whiskey in my house. So,
yeah, just fingerprints
everywhere. But oh well. So, not bad. I enjoyed it. I would actually eat that again.
Yeah, I'll definitely. This is definitely a good snack.
Yeah. I don't have a good transition for that. I was going to say, speaking of good snacks, this was a great show. But...
Lame joke. No, it was close enough.
That was the best transition I got. Lance, can you just give us a synopsis for the show?
Yep, so we are covering Sword Art Online Alicization. This is going to be the first half of the Alicization series. And we follow Kirito and Asuna. They are attacked by the Laughing Coffin in the beginning of the series. And that Laughing Coffin guy ends up putting Kirito basically into a coma. The only way for him to come back to reality is to send him into a new virtual reality that they call the Underground. Time is accelerated dramatically in this underworld, where a few hours in real time can equate to a few months in the virtual world. Kirito is placed in the virtual world so that his body can recover through experimental procedures by the company Wrath, who runs the underground simulation. In his time underground, Kirito makes friends with Yu-Gi-Oh! And works towards becoming a Integrity Knight to save their old friend Alice. Through their adventures, Kirito comes to learn the truth of this world and tries to save everyone from its ruler. And that's what I got. I didn't want to give too much away.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly understandable. One thing I will say is this is what I thought SAO was going to be. Like, from start to finish. You had your drama. You didn't give Kirito just OP powers out of nowhere for no reason. You had a really phenomenal story. You had a reason for everything happening. Like I said, this is what I thought SAO was going to be. I loved season 1 of SAO. Season 2 was okay. But this is everything I wanted out of SAO. The characters were really good. They were relatable. I thought the MMORPG style of this show was really good. It wasn't super obvious how you leveled up. And it was just a very, very good story that we only got half of.
24 episodes in. We're only halfway through the entire, Alicization arc, like I was saying.
Yep.
And what you were saying, I couldn't say better. It's exactly how I feel, too.
Yeah, I've been telling people, you gotta watch this. It's so good. It's not, I don't want to say Gun Gale Online was a letdown, but it kind of was a letdown. Like, I just didn't, I didn't like it as much.
Right. First half of season 1 was so goddamn good. And then the second half was kind of a step down. And then Gun Gale was yet another kind of a step down.
Yep.
We go from all this awesome sword action to guns. On a personal level, I'm not one of those run and gun video game players. I like the battle sequences and like combos and weapons like that. Shooting games aren't exactly what I lean towards, so maybe
you're not a Call of Duty guy. Is
exactly. That's what it comes down to.
Yep.
It doesn't tickle my fancy, so I didn't care for it too much. It was fine. I enjoyed Sword Art Online 2. It was good, but Alicization totally brought me way back into the SAO world.
Yeah, like I said, it was everything I wanted SAO to be. The characters were good. The characters were unique, and just couldn't get enough of it. I loved the Integrity Knights. I enjoyed that all their weapons had essentially 2 stages to them, and they all had some sort of meaning behind them. So then that meaning gave them more power, which for an MMO game makes complete sense. You got all these different weapons. It was so well done. I really enjoyed it. The pacing was good. You had your typical SAO moments when it came to the 2 girls. Apparently, SAO just can't get away from those instances. But as a whole, I thought this was phenomenal. What about you?
Yeah, I am so happy that we started this. And I was one of those people that was like, so whatever after season 2.
Yep.
That it took me until now to finally watch it. And this has been out for a while now. And yeah, so don't sleep on this like I slept on it because of what you felt in the past. Alicization is what everybody needed once again.
And the nice thing is, if you watch SAO 1, Season 1, and then skip 2, they essentially in the beginning explain the important parts of what's happening to Kirito so that you could, if you skipped Gun Gale, you're not missing anything in all actuality.
Right. Like, what's her name?
Sinon?
Sinon might be an interesting character that you might not recognize, obviously, but
yeah, there's gonna be some stuff in the beginning because all the girls are in this area, and you're like, what's going on here? But besides that,
you can totally just be confused for a little bit. It really doesn't make too big of a difference as far as this first half of Alicization goes.
Before we really get too far into this, Lance, can you give us that Lance's lesson?
Today's Lance's Lessons is going to be the Japanese word for blue, and that is ao. Spelt A-O. Put that together, ao. Like you just stub your toe, ao. Blue, ao, is very relevant to today's episode because Yu-Gi-Oh! Has the blue rose, and you hear him say that all the time, so that's why ao is important.
Yeah, and that's one of those nice things, because if your favorite color is blue, now you know how to say it in Japanese, so... Yeah,
and then maybe every time you accidentally stub your toe on the counter, you can be like, ow, oh, I'm blue. Oh, okay.
blue.
It's not O-W, it's A-O. Just remember that. It's just kind of pronounced that way.
Awesome. Thank you.
Right. And something that we're going to be doing a little bit different in this episode and maybe moving forward is we are going to put some Matt's manga mentions in the beginning of the episode so we have a little bit more content to talk about in the event that the manga is really worth, going more into detail with. So without further ado, let's get into some Matt's manga mentions. NANI?
Yes, and I'm hoping we can have some good conversations off of this. One thing, for anybody that is listening, the biggest thing I want anybody to take away from as far as the manga is concerned is that SAO is based off of light novels. The manga does not do the anime justice. And if you truly want to know big differences, you're going to want to read the light novel. I feel like everybody says that about SAO, and I'm going to agree with them because the manga was 30 chapters. It was 5 books.
Okay.
So very short. And yeah, I am going to also do something different as well. And I'm not actually going to talk about the differences. I am only going to talk about the extra information that I pulled from the manga that we missed out in the anime.
Okay.
So if it's a difference that's kind of subjective, it's just going to be added information that we didn't get in the manga. You find out how Integrity Knights are selected, or at least what they believe how Integrity Knights are selected. We can go into that a little bit later, but they compete in a sword competition for basically the region. And then if you do well, you get recognized by the Palace Guard. You work as a Palace Guard for a little while. And then you take the Integrity Knight exam. So that is how Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh got into that school. So that academy is 2 years.
Oh, so that was legit
Yep.
way to get into the Integrity Knight?
Yep.
Okay, because I was under the impression that Integrity Knights were only like, the sinners or the guys that broke the law and got brought in and then got brainwashed and then whatever.
Yeah, I mean, let's kind of talk about that now. Is that how you thought Integrity Knights were selected? Is basically they were chosen based off of strong-willed individuals that had broken the law?
Yes, that's where I was getting a little bit split from. Like, I've consumed this half of the Alicization a couple times, and I don't remember any time being explained point blank, but it was very clear that Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh were going to that school to become Integrity Knights.
Yes.
So that much was clear. So that is what I would imagine would be enough to be said that, like, yeah, you can voluntarily become an Integrity Knight, which is also kind of weird because everybody knows the lore that Integrity Knights are brought down from the heavens. And then they're summoned. They're always summoned.
Well, but that's what they believed. That's what the Integrity Knights believed. I don't think anybody else believed that.
I think it is. I'm pretty sure it was just common knowledge with everybody. So at least for the most part, maybe there was a batch that could have been, heavenly, spawned, or you can work your way up to being one as well. So maybe there could have been 2 different paths.
So what I thought was that the Integrity Knights basically brought justice upon the Axiom Church, that not that they were summoned by the Axiom Church, if that makes sense. So essentially they were the highest people awarded by the Axiom Church as knights are concerned. So it's essentially a rank within the church. And that's what I thought it was. Not that they were selected by the heavens as they were believed and we were told by all of the Integrity Knights.
Right. Well, that's why I was getting confused, because all of the Integrity Knights, that's what they believe.
Yes.
That they were summoned.
Yes.
And then because if that's what they believe, that's what all the commoners should believe as well, so that there's no...
But they never really talked to anybody.
Right, but information is still spread, much like the Taboo Index.
Valid. It's really confusing. They don't talk about it.
Nothing's point blank explained, and leaves a little bit of cushion room to why Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh think that they can just become these Integrity Knights themselves.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe what happens ultimately is that they do, maybe if people do get high enough ranks, that they do get into the church and then they get brainwashed, and then the rest of society just thinks that they're members of the church, serving under, but they're not officially a guard or a knight or something. I don't know.
Yep.
Something that I wish that I would imagine / hope that the light novel would explain.
Yeah, it's got to.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So for me, I think based off of what little bit of information that I have, I think you can be awarded the rank of an Integrity Knight, but once you become an Integrity Knight, your memory is brainwashed.
Right.
So the common people, including the nobles, believe that it's something that you can work towards, but then as an Integrity Knight, you believe that you're chosen by the heavens. Mm-hmm. By Stacia. That's what her name is.
Stacia? That's the sun?
Yeah, she's the bringer of...
Yeah. I just don't want a differentiation between as soon as a knight is summoned that they somehow remember that they had a life before, because obviously none of them remember anything.
Yes.
And then we learned with Synthesis number 1, where he is in his 40s and above, and he has no memory prior.
But you have to remember that I think it was Eldrie. Was he the first one that they fought?
1, Synthesis 1, yeah. There it is.
Was that?
Eldrie.
No. So Eldrie was 1, but then who was 7? He was the one that they fought the first time going up. No.
Eldrie wasn't 1.
Bercoli is 1. I want to say Eldrie is...
I think Eldrie was 7.
Eldrie was 31, so he was the guy that they fought.
Oh, I'm messing up everything.
Outside of the Central Cathedral. It was...
Deus Albert.
Albert. Okay.
Was number 7. He was the one that changed from white to red.
Yes. Okay. So remember, he was the one...
He wasn't the very first guy.
He was the one that they fought inside the cathedral going up.
Yeah, after they got their swords back.
After they got their swords back. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
He was the one that took Alice away, but he didn't remember. He was already an Integrity Knight. So nothing says that they can't get their mind erased even after they're already an Integrity Knight.
Right. And the Pontifex, she explains that like 2 or 3 times that she can just
do whatever she wants.
Yeah, she can rewipe them.
So that's why I believe that even they can believe whatever they want, because she's just going to keep erasing the Integrity Knight's brains, so it doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. There's just a little bit of a squishy room that I wish would just be fully exposed.
Yes. Then, so after they're in the academy, they compete in a military arts competition. So the thing that Kirito's mentor won.
Yep.
They do that. You have to win. So whoever wins is allowed to advance, and then they go to the 4 Empire Unity tournaments, so they compete in the military arts competition. They need to win. I'm assuming it's probably like top noble, and then whoever wins if it's not the top noble, kind of like in the instance that we saw. And then you go to the 4 Empire Unity tournament, and only the winner of that tournament is allowed to basically advance in order to become an Integrity Knight.
Okay, so this was extra information in your manga.
Yep.
So Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh were doing extra...
They were in the process of going through. They were in the 2-year academy.
Okay, yeah, because this rings a bell, because isn't this where Tisei was saying like, hey, if you win this thing, you can become a noble and then we can get married?
Yep.
Okay.
And then Kirito's mentor won, so she would have moved up and tried working her way towards becoming an Integrity Knight, but it's a process, so it just wouldn't have happened. Because Eldrie, I think, won the tournament like the year prior or something like that, and then he became an Integrity Knight.
Yeah, I think he's only a knight for like a year.
Yeah, so it's just it's a process.
Right. And Eldrie was Synthesis 31, the one with the snake whip.
Yep.
Just so our listeners can have a visual.
After that, we find out that the axe that Yu-Gi-Oh was using was made from dragon bone. So they do talk about that. I must have missed it in the...
Yeah, Kirito asked if there's anything stronger than this axe, and he said no, that they asked the capital, and dragon bone was sent over as the strongest piece of equipment that they have.
Minor detail I missed, not surprising. It took 5 days for Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito to cut down the tree with the sword.
Okay, sounds about right.
Basically, they trained every day for a week getting it, because they were training in between, and they were using this tree as their object they were hitting while they were training.
This is after the goblins?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because I was trying to think back to it, like Yu-Gi-Oh in the anime, I'm pretty sure he didn't even kill a single goblin, but yet he was still able to hold the...
He killed the main goblin. He killed the goblin lord.
I suppose he did get the final strike in.
Yes.
So, I guess...
I have more details about that.
That's the experience boost. I was just wondering, because like I know they're commoners and they're not killing stuff, and as you find later in the series, that hunting and whatnot is forbidden, which would allow your level to start, going up if you started killing stuff.
Yep.
So I can see, that all gets explained. So them killing some goblins are going to spike their level so that you were able to hold the sword.
Yep, exactly. So after Yu-Gi-Oh announces what his new calling is going to be, the other guy, basically the bully with the sword, challenges Yu-Gi-Oh to a duel, and Yu-Gi-Oh beats him for the right to go to the central cathedral.
Interesting.
Not really anything super important, but
it's fun enough detail because it's like, yeah, how do you go from being like this lowly woodcutter to now you feel like you can just wield a sword and go?
Well, that's all thanks to Kirito, but yes.
I do have a little bit of another gripe. I want to tap into that. Okay, so somewhere in my notes I wrote down that Yu-Gi-Oh's calling was like a woodcutter or a tree cutter or something along those lines. Like it was broad. It wasn't specific. It was broad. So
to an extent, yes.
He cuts down this one single tree, and all of a sudden, his entire calling is therefore fulfilled, and now he can just make a new one. But his calling was just that's my only gripe. It was such a broad title. He does one tree. I mean, obviously, it's a big achievement.
Yep, it is a big ass tree.
But still, that's just where I wanted to go with that.
So one thing is that you have to remember they spent 300 years trying to cut down this tree.
Right.
So if your calling is, hey, whack at this tree for your life, it's just implied that it's to cut down that tree.
Right. That would have to be the second part of it. It would have to be an implication, not so broad where other trees would then come after the Gigas.
Yeah, his title isn't lumberjack, it's just tree cutter.
Yeah,
so,
something along those lines, yeah.
It could be the Gigas cedar, which is only that one tree. Mm-hmm. So we do find out that tree was never meant to get cut down. It was supposed to be essentially a barrier for the area.
Really?
Made by Quinella.
Interesting. Okay.
So just, that's why its life was so high. It was just never meant to get cut down. Okay. Because they knew that essentially there was a lifespan for the underground, and it would have taken longer than what they had as far as the lifespan was to cut down the tree.
Right.
The daggers that the Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh used were made out of Cardinal's hair. So she had braids that she spent 200 years growing, and that's what she made the daggers out of.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting because Yu-Gi-Oh, in the anime at least, made a point in saying they didn't work because they were made out of steel.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. That's what she said. She's like, oh, you just missed it. I just had to cut my hair to make these daggers for you guys. If you would have came earlier, you would have seen me with my braids that I had been working on for 200 years.
Interesting.
So, yes.
Well, now I know. Well, now I wonder what the light novel had to have said about that to set this record straight.
Or we could be wrong on both counts. I have no idea.
I mean, this is what we're consuming, so...
Valid.
It's not like we're wrong.
And the last piece of information I have is about the Blue Rose Sword.
Okay.
So, the Blue Rose Sword was made from eternal ice that fed the rose by melting itself in order to feed this seed, and it turned into this most beautiful rose. They communicated with each other. The rose was like, it's going to be winter soon. I'm going to die. And so the eternal ice essentially didn't want that to happen, so it encased the rose in eternal ice so that it could have this beauty forever. And then they used that rose and that ice in order to make the Blue Rose Sword.
The owl.
Yes.
Rose sword.
Yes, the owl. The owl sword. That is correct.
Okay, that's interesting. That's a little bit more information than the anime gave. Really, the only thing that the anime said is just a rose that sat in a very cold place for the longest time.
Yep, that's really all that's to it. And that's all I got. Not a whole lot. Read the light novel. That's all I can say. Read the light novel. Because I don't want to say there was a bunch of differences, because I don't know. There might have been. For anybody that has read the light novels, please let us know. I'd love to hear it.
Yes, please leave a comment, several comments, long comments, whatever it takes. Just let us know your thoughts on the differences. That would be awesome.
Yes.
Before we get too far, you said that this covered 30 chapters. Where exactly did your manga leave off as far as the Alicization goes?
All of it. That was all 24 episodes.
Oh, it did cover it. Okay.
So that's why I'm saying don't bother. Just read the light novel, because 30 chapters should not cover 24 episodes.
Yeah, right. That's pretty quick.
And it's not like every episode or every chapter was like 100 pages. It was 20 to 50 pages.
Well, okay.
So nothing crazy.
Well, still, that's pretty quick for what an anime. Well, it doesn't matter, because ultimately everybody knows that the light novel is the true source. So
yes, please just read the light novel.
All right, so that is going to mix up what the difference between our old format and this new format's going to be is putting the manga mentions first so that we have a little bit more content to talk about now, and if we just happen to want to sprinkle some in the future.
Yes.
So, like we also like to talk about, favorite characters. Who stood out to you the most?
Who stood out to me the most? Oh man, it'd be too easy to say Yu-Gi-Oh, right?
Yeah. I was gonna say, I was contemplating this the past week or two, and like, I think it's gonna be Yu-Gi-Oh. I want to say someone else, but it's definitely Yu-Gi-Oh.
The entire show is about Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito.
Yep.
Like, sure, you can like Alice, but you get like 6 episodes of Alice.
Yeah, you don't get much out of her. So to claim her as a favorite character, she's your typical robot character whose mind slated, whose mind got erased, and she's talking super formal about everything. So, that trope is going on there. So she's strong. She's very interesting in that kind of aspect, but
you can tell she'll be good in the next season.
But in this first portion, no, I don't think it'd be fair to say that otherwise. Unless there was very specific things you can pull from it. Because what if somebody's favorite character was Bercoli or Deus Albert or Fanatio Synthesis 2, the woman in the bucket head? Because there could have been an emotional aspect to those things. Like, I can see maybe if some girl felt...
Yeah, you related to her because, you just kind of... You were in an all-male profession and you kind of just wanted to hide yourself a little bit because you didn't want to get looked down upon.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm not saying these characters aren't relatable. The characters aren't good. It's just, it's hard to really get attached to another character when you only get them for like an episode or 2.
Exactly, yeah. So that's why we focus so clearly on Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh. There's not too much outside of that.
I'm going to go with Kirito.
You're going to go with him?
I'm just going to go with Kirito just because he's my favorite throughout the series.
Uh-huh.
So there's nothing wrong with him in this series. So it's cool. I like in the beginning that he's essentially working with Wrath because he wants to figure out what the future of MMORPGs are.
Mm-hmm.
He has this calling. He's talking about wanting to go to America because they're far and away beyond what's going on in Japan. And he's like, come with me, Asuna. So I like that, he's not just thinking about himself. He's thinking about Asuna. And just, I enjoyed it as a whole. I liked Kirito as a character. So I'm just going to go with Kirito.
No, that's fair. Because the beginning was really fun.
Yep.
Because he had a lot of opportunity to do random stuff.
Yep.
And he found himself in this situation. He kind of found himself in a shitty situation after he got put into that coma or whatever.
Yes.
So things might have gone differently. Might have. Because now I kind of wonder if this was all planned.
No, I don't think it was planned.
No?
No.
I mean, because he was already working with Wrath in the beginning.
But they would have gotten all that anyway.
That's okay. That's a good point.
Because he was with Alice, and the goal was to get Alice after the fact. So it didn't change anything.
It didn't change anything, right? The only difference here is, one, Kirito's in a coma, so he can be in there long term. And 2, when he was going into the underground at first, all his memories were getting wiped.
Yeah, but
now he's diving in no problem. Or not now, but after the coma, he was able to dive in with his memories. I don't know, it's weird kind of. That one didn't get fully explained other than anime logic, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't think too far into it. I do have a question though. What happened to his body when he was out? Like, did he just disappear for a few days?
Like when he got that...
When he would come out? So he would go between being within the underground or being in the real world. What happened to his body in the underground when he was in the real world? Did he just not exist?
Right. Yeah, that's very strange because...
It's not like it would be a 1-for-1, like... Oh, I'm just going for a half a day and then I'll come back in. It's significant time.
Significant, yeah, because Yu-Gi-Oh, Kirito, and Alice were all born on the same day. So if this is a part-time job for Kirito in the real world and he's going in maybe once a day, which is like...
a few hours every day after school.
Right? And then, that could be a split between, 12, 16 hours in between dives. And
well, I think it's like 300% sped up. So we're talking, I think it was 2.5 years and it only been like a week.
Right. Yeah. So the time difference between the two worlds are so extreme. So yeah, it would, there's too much cushion there that's not fully explained or fully thought about or thought through, whether, when Kirito is diving in and then coming back to reality.
I'll be completely honest, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
It's just an interesting thought process as like, what does Yu-Gi-Oh and everybody in the village think when Kirito is just gone for a month?
I'm sure it goes on some kind of autopilot. That's what that's the only thing I can say.
Something that would make sense, though. I like that idea.
Until he comes back full time.
Yes, he has to exist within the world, or things get weird.
Right. So,
which. I mean, that does kind of remind me of Tokyo Revengers, where when he goes into the future and then his old self comes and they're completely different personalities. Yep. And it's like, oh, look, we got the adults, Takemichi versus the young Takemichi. Because they do the guy he tells from the Tokyo Manji gang. I'm drawing a blank. But he does tell one of the guys, and he's like, oh yeah, I could tell the difference between when you're the older you and the younger you.
Right.
So it's just, I can't imagine it being that drastic, because we're not talking years different. Well, technically.
I mean, we could be.
Yeah, it's valid. It could be completely...
Okay, if we want to jump ahead, I watched a couple episodes of the next season, and there's one specific portion where someone said, I fell asleep for 8 hours, and 1 year has gone on. So 8 hours can basically equate to 1 year. Yeah, that math doesn't work. But it doesn't matter. None of this math works because they keep jumping back and forth on so many things. I do think I remember in this first half them saying we've accelerated time by 300%.
Yes.
And still things don't necessarily add up all the time.
No. We're just going down a rabbit hole that means absolutely nothing. Funny stipulations.
Maybe for their sake, we can be like, when Kirito is here, when he was diving, we accelerated by 300%. And when he was living his life in the real world, we decreased it back to ×1 normal time, or even paused it. I don't know. None
of that would make sense.
Right.
I feel like they just leave it at 300%.
Yeah, because generations have gone by since Wrath had started. So 7 generations, I think they said. But still, it's
just soulless Kirito walking around having a good old time with Yu-Gi-Oh! Cutting down some wood. I don't know. I'm not going to try and realistic logic this. There is nothing. Just an interesting thought. I wonder what happens to Kirito's soulless body as he's in the underground.
Yeah, I did wonder that my first watch through.
Or do they make a copy of his soul and let him be himself in the underground and then shut off that copy and the real Kirito get into it? And
that's why I said autopilot.
It is autopilot, but it's still Kirito beating Kirito.
Right.
So it's a real autopilot, not like just him kind of, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh's going here, I need to follow. Yu-Gi-Oh's going here, I need to follow kind of stuff.
I mean, they were trying to make this world into the most realistic thing as possible.
Yes.
So I can see that. These NPCs were not traditional NPCs.
Correct.
So
even the NPC, as Cardinal called it, didn't act like an NPC.
Charlotte, the little spider.
Yeah, the spider. Yeah.
I want to complain about that fighting scene at the very end with Charlotte fighting the 31
swords.
The golem.
Yeah.
Did not like that.
No, why not?
Because a tiny little spider.
It transformed. It was a big spider.
That's what I'm saying. It transformed. That's what I was going to say. Sorry. It transformed into a giant spider.
Yep. And then immediately dies.
Yeah, and then took a hit and then just dies. It didn't do shit.
Well, it is a passive spider, so it's not meant to. It got its arms chopped off and was like, oh, yeah, no, I don't do this. That's right.
200 years that spider has been alive, it said.
Well, that's not anymore. Yeah, made it 200 years. That's it.
I mean, good job, NPC.
It was supposed to be an emotional death. That's all that was.
Yeah,
I think it was also supposed to add on to the, everybody's trying to save Kirito kind of thing. And it's just one more thing.
It was just another obstacle to throw in there and help him out.
Yes. But let's so I want to go back to more the beginning of the season. I liked the explanation of everything. I like how, you see all these characters, then you basically get nobles being nobles. Seems like every time you have nobles, you get the douchebag nobles that only think about themselves. I did enjoy the fact that they said that the noble law takes precedent over school law, which is just under the taboo index, and they can manipulate the taboo index to essentially do whatever they wanted.
Right, because if the wording wasn't super specific, then they can start altering it.
Yes.
I thought that was a very slimy way to get through life, because that's essentially what...
It's realistic. It's true.
It is realistic. That's what the law does today. Like, if the law doesn't specific... If you don't disturb what the law says by the word, then you technically can get away with anything you want.
To an extent, yeah.
To an extent. I mean, as long as you have,
Like, look at corporate loopholes.
Exactly.
You've got all these things where it's like, oh, well, I did 4 of these 5 things, so technically I'm okay. And it's like, yeah, no, that's not how that works. Normal people are like, no, that's not how that works. And you got this one person that's like, well, actually, it's okay. And that's basically how the nobles thought. Mm-hmm. And Kirito thought like a normal person, where I was like, I understand that's not what it said, but its meaning behind what it said was actually this, not... You can't just do whatever you want to some girls because they said some mean things to you.
Right. What it really comes down to is morality versus law versus the letter of the law.
Yes.
More specifically, I guess, because it starts diving into gray area when you want to get super specific, and that's when the shit's just not fair.
Until you kill a noble, and then it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Justice is served, but then you broke the taboo, so justice isn't served.
Yes. What do you think of that moment where he's just kind of glitching out? Did you see that coming?
No, not at all. When
I don't care about his name.
Yeah, first seat, whatever.
No. Yeah. What's the first?
The first seat was the noble with the long hair that got both of his arms chopped off. He was
Yes.
the first seat. When he glitched out, did not see the comment at all. And then when he did start glitching out, I thought that not only was there a glitch in himself,
Yep.
but because things
You thought
were
there was
out of order, like the whole entire underground was going to start glitching to some degree.
Okay, so you thought it was like a glitch in the Matrix kind of thing.
Basically, like it was going to be like some kind of domino effect.
Makes sense. No, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't see that coming, but I also didn't see the glitching coming the first time I had seen it either.
Yeah, and that was the one and only like true legit glitch in the first season, wasn't it?
Yes, but it was because he couldn't wrap his mind around what was happening.
Right. Yeah, because there's been multiple occasions where they were trying to go against code 781 or whatever it was called, and those weren't glitches.
No.
He was the only... Okay, sorry, I'm trying to put too much together.
Yeah, so what you're thinking of is the going against the taboo index, and what the first seat was doing glitching out was just he couldn't wrap his head around the situation that was happening because of essentially his status and everything else.
Sure.
That I know we had talked about favorite characters, but did you have a favorite Integrity Knight?
Yeah, this one is a little hard because you kind of want to say Broccoli, Synthesis 1.
Okay.
Because he's supposed to be the strongest.
I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah, I feel a little, split between that. Or even you can say Alice, 30. But I don't know. I didn't feel too connected to anybody in this first half. Maybe I want to say Deus Elbert because, I don't know, he just kind of had this badass firebow deal going on. And he had a lot of honor behind his battle. And when he lost his fight, he had his traditional samurai, like, I lost this fight kind of deal. And, like, you go ahead, kill me, because as soon as the uppers find out about my loss, they're going to kill me anyway, kind of thing. So go ahead, claim your victory. I don't know. Like, he was cool.
No, that does make complete sense.
Yeah. I don't know what I like more, his white color or his red color. We didn't get to see much of his white because that was so early on the season, and it was literally just to kill that Dark Integrity Knight and to take Alice and go away. And then we see him again in this red suit. I don't know. Red kind of suits him.
Yeah, it's more menacing.
Yeah. What about you? What are you thinking on these Synthesis Integrity Knights?
I will say, as far as a moveset was concerned, I liked Eldrier's the best.
With the snake whip?
Not Eldrier. I like Broccoli's, his move the best. I thought that was like being able to cut through time.
Yeah.
Was really cool.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
I really enjoyed Alice's, just her uniform and her sword, I thought was super cool. You did get to see the most of her, so that was
That's true. I mean, you get to see the most of her, but you get to see the most of her sword.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure you thought of this, but when you first saw Alice use her sword, were Bankai coming into your head? Like, were you thinking of Byakuya's Senbon Zakura Kageyoshi?
Yes. No, but that was also because Bleach had been like 6 years since I'd watched Bleach.
Yeah.
So it'd been so long. You have seen Bleach recently, so
right.
that's
yeah,
why.
I saw, Thousand Year Blood War, fresh in my mind, watched Core 1, and then we saw this. So yes, it was fresh in my mind for sure. But as soon as I saw her blade scatter into those tiny petals, and she explained that each petal can cut through stone or whatever, but still, just the animation of that sword just made me think of Byakuya.
Yes, it really does. Now that I think about it, it 100% does.
And even before that happened, all I can think of is every time they released all of their movesets, all of their I'm running a blank on what they're called, the
released recollection, the first memory. All I can think of is Bankai. Every time they use a move, Bankai, and then boom, a big move happened. I can see it.
Or was recollection the second one? Release armament was first, release recollection was second.
Yeah,
like, I think that's how that worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bankai, I could not get that out of my head. So I was combining them too often.
Maybe that's where they got it from. Could have been.
Fair.
I will say hers is, you know what? I'm just going to go with Broccoli because I loved his time-splitting sword.
It was pretty sweet. That delayed attack reaction.
I loved his demeanor, too. He's just kind of like super go-lucky, just whatever.
He's a badass and he knows it.
Yeah. He's like, I'm the original Integrity Knight. I've been doing this for longer than you've even been thought of, and this is nothing.
Right. He explains how everybody who sees my attack automatically switches to long-ranged attacks, which now is getting me to think, like, what if someone was able to outspeed him? Because, like, he can make a slash move, and then that time difference is still going to happen at a time in the future. I don't know if he necessarily has that time, like, where he can control that time. I'm sure he can control the time to a degree, but like if he miscalculates that time, I guess that's kind of where I'm going at. Like if you're faster than he expects, his time slash isn't going to be as effective.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. It'll be interesting if we get to see him again or not. Mm-hmm. Now that the whatchamacallit is dead, Quinella is dead.
Pontifex.
Yes, because obviously we need the Integrity Knights in order to save the underground.
Yep.
So I wonder if because they do have some sort of time reversal art, so you could do some healing. So I can only imagine essentially the freezing of Broccoli can get reversed as well.
Oh yeah, I 100% see him getting. Well, did they also say like if they were to kill that little fucking clown, it would release that spell anyway?
Oh yeah,
they did make some kind of mention of that. Alice said, "I'll either convince him to release him, or we'll just have to kill him, and then I'll do it too." Something along those lines.
Yeah, that's super anticlimactic when it came to the Pontifex getting burned up by the.
I hated that so much. Because, like, she got both of her arms chopped off, and she was getting...
She's using her hair to type
in. But I wanted to say some kind of, like, alien abduction kind of thing. Like, she's on her way to the real world, essentially.
Somehow. Like, why couldn't Yu-Gi-Oh do that?
Yeah, or anybody just in general.
Well...
And nothing in the real world is necessarily available. Like, I know that robot... Ichiman was, I assume Ichiman and Niman, whatever, they were going to be the molds for the people to come, and Alice is going to take over.
No, because they're not fluid enough.
Right. I thought that those were going to be like the prototypes.
I think I don't remember what it is.
Anyway, what I imagined was they're working to create a robot for people, for Alice more specifically, for someone from the underworld to overtake these robot bodies, but their minds are still intact. Whatever, I don't know. Just this is also futuristic stuff. Not gonna go there. Sorry.
All I'm gonna say is that thing that the Pontifex and Kirito were using does get explained in season 2.
Okay.
Or in part 2.
Okay. And I would like to imagine
they explain what it is. So
like that interface where they can communicate between worlds.
Yeah, they explain what that is.
Okay, I thought that was just going to be like a central like if you press the start button in a video game, and that's how you can communicate. I thought that was just like the central area.
Basically.
Okay.
It's like a terminal for between the game and the real world.
Right.
They don't explain what the Pontifex is doing. It makes no sense. It's just a dramatic... I guarantee you all it was is just a dramatic thing for the Pontifex to get burned up by Jindambo, I think is his name.
Jindoka?
Something
like that.
Yeah, something along those lines. It doesn't matter. He was the Joker. And...
I want to talk to that voice actor, and I want to ask him, how much did you feel like Heath Ledger's Joker, and did you feel like you incorporated that kind of persona, and do you think you can like potentially take on a voice acting role for a future Joker or something along those lines?
He did play that role very well, though. I will say that.
I thought he did play it very well. There was a couple lines that I thought were very cheesy, just...
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the voice actor.
No. And like when he was like, oh, no, this will not do. Like, that sounds so light novel. That sounds so cliche, but whatever. He's just saying his lines. But I thought his voice acting was spot on.
Yes, very convincing.
Yeah.
When we talked to William, he'd be very... It kind of reminded me of that, where, felt the personality of that character very well.
Oh, yeah. That's very, very true. And
anyway,
that was very true.
I thought it was so anticlimactic, that whole fight.
Most of that fight was. Traducan, whatever his name is, I was so hyped for that. Like, he had such a solid fucking entrance for his fire monster.
And then dead.
And then instantly dead.
And you're just like...
I thought...
All right.
I thought it was pretty entertaining enough to, that when the Pontifex was like, well, that was pretty anticlimactic. I'm like, well, yeah, it was pretty fucking anticlimactic.
Yeah, this super fire monster that it's like, oh, this is hotter than even my blade. And then he's dead.
Yeah. And then to even go a step further for anticlimactic shit is when the Pontifex herself officially dies, when she's getting, sucked up into the real world. And then
he burns her trying to
come with her.
Trying to intertwine himself into her.
There was a split second in my mind where I was thinking, like, is she officially dead? Like, I don't know. Is there going to be some kind of like...
You questioned it?
Oh, well, I know anime logic has consumed my mind. Like, what if she's not officially... She had such an important role in this first 24 episodes that, like, is she...
Can they really kill her off?
Yeah, right?
They did. Don't. I'm going to say it. Yeah, okay. She's dead.
Because, like, she was dying, and then she was in the process of dying, and then she had, like, this, I'm above my city, looking down on my city. I love everything. I literally love everything that I've ever touched. And then she blows up, and then that's the end of her. And then and then Kirito hears all the gunshots. So, the story continues. But, like...
Yeah, the story is not about her, remember that.
No, right. But it just makes me question, like, was that literally the end of her? And there's...
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I guess that's how that ends.
If this story was about her, then no, she would have found a way to come back. But
yeah, I don't know. It sounds.
But they also would have ended it there as far as the first.
Right. I mean, I know there's still the second half, and I have yet to even see the entirety of the second half, so I know there's a lot more to come.
Yes.
But it's just, at the same time, I'm like, I know this is like the first major real boss, but this major real boss has controlled the underworld for like the past like 200, 300 years or whatever. She was super important, and now she's just gone.
Yes, and now she's gone.
Period. Okay, move on.
I mean, the title of the second part gives everything away.
What is it called? Like War of the Underworld or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Alicization, War of the Underworld.
So that basically gives it away of what's going to happen in the second part of the season.
Right.
So it's just pretty... She is no longer needed.
Yeah, and that's totally fun. I also thought it was very strange that during their battle, she wasn't able to regrow her limbs.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. I'm like, why didn't she use her arm as a sacred object? And it's like, why didn't you just put your arm back on yourself,
right,
and grab one of the sacred objects that are around you?
You've got tens upon... You got so many weapons all around you.
But I need my arm to be the sacred object. It's like, or you don't. Chidelkin, that's his name.
What's the first couple letters? Is it like a CH? Oh, that's why we went to J's. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chidelkin.
But yeah, that was very thrown off that she wasn't able to do any of those. By any of those, I meant like to re-heal herself, because she was able to heal anybody else, and we saw Yu-Gi-Oh get his eye back. So what? And that was, you know, from some sister way below the Pontifex. So why wasn't she able to just heal herself?
And then they also Lord of the Rings did, yeah, where Sauron can't die by a man's hand and then gets killed by a woman. It's, you know, I can't die by metal and then gets attacked by a tree and a rose.
Yeah, that's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's same concept. So apparently we're pulling other stories.
Yeah, because she can't get stabbed by metal, so she gets
stabbed by a tree and a rose.
Okay.
And then explodes.
Before we talk about favorite scenes,
yes,
let's talk. I need to express my least favorite scene.
Okay.
And since we're already here, and that's Yu-Gi-Oh turning into a sword. That was my least favorite scene. I did not like that. I thought the idea was awesome.
Where he sacrificed himself to turn it into a sword?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could live with that.
And then he turned human again?
I was okay with that too.
Oh, okay.
Because the jewel came separate and he can transform, he can go back and forth. Maybe not an SAO world, but like just anime logic, whatever. The point is, I would have accepted it a little bit more if Kirito handled the sword. Like if Yu-Gi-Oh became like a Transformers Ultimate Blade sword, I don't remember what that sword's called.
I have no idea. We're also dating ourselves. Yeah. So.
I would. That's when Yu-Gi-Oh turned into a sword. That's what I imagined was going to happen. That Yu-Gi-Oh was going to hold, that Kirito was going to hold Yu-Gi-Oh's blade and then cut down the Pontifex that way. But no, a floating shooting divine sword shooting, jetting around like a the whole entire time that this happened, I thought it was a Yu-Gi-Oh duel. That weapon golem, that I thought that looked like a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
It also was from SAO. That golem was essentially everything from that one boss minus the back half. It was the exact same thing. So you remember that super big mantis looking thing with all the legs and arms and stuff? And
it's from original SAO?
Yeah, from original SAO. It's one of the last bosses that they fight.
Oh, and probably like episode.
It's all bones.
9, 10, 11, 12 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's all bone, and it goes around and killing a bunch of people, and it's the exact same thing. Minus the back half. It doesn't have the back half, but the whole front half. And instead of being a bunch of bones that are now weapons, it's a bunch of weapons that are weapons.
Yeah, I haven't seen the second half of that. I know when we did the movie, I watched the first 4 episodes, and I haven't continued since then.
Yeah, you definitely need to rewatch SAO, and you're gonna be like, "Oh shit, yeah, that's right."
Okay, that's interesting. That'd be a really nice side-by-side comparison that could be thrown out there.
So for the golem, I was thinking of the Skull Reaper, by the way.
Yeah.
So I was able to look it up and find it. As far as least favorite episodes,
moments or scenes or whatever.
Yeah, least favorite moments. I will say the incident between the girls and the nobles was probably on there as far as my least favorite scenes, because it was unnecessary. It really was.
Like the whole rape scene?
Yes. Like that whole thing was unnecessary.
Yeah. It was immensely unnecessary.
So they could have easily found a different way to get sent to get arrested for something. So it's just one of those things.
Oh, sure.
Just because it's one of those things where it just doesn't make sense to happen within the show. Like it's just, I'm gonna sprinkle this in because I can, kind of thing. And I'm like, it doesn't add anything. Like it's just, let me have some dramatization to the show for no real reason. Unlike in Goblin Slayer, the whole concept is needed because it gives reason for why he hates goblins so much.
True.
Versus just, oh, look, they're shitty nobles. Well, we could do other things to show how shitty nobles are. So to me, it's just unnecessary. So to say something different, I'm going to go with that one.
Sure.
Because I did not like the way the Pontifex dies. It's super anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I would have much rather the fight scene happen and then Kirito beats the Pontifex. Like if that would have been it and then she's just dying, I would have been okay with it.
By Kirito's hand?
Yes. Not Jadalkin.
There you go.
Essentially incinerating her because he wants to
Chudelkin.
Chudelkin, yes. Chudelkin wants to become one done with the Pontifex. So it was just, I didn't appreciate it. I thought it was kind of meh.
Yeah, it happened.
You gave Kirito the golden eyes to basically show that he's going to move and be invincible. Just let him do it. You did it 3 other times. Let him do it again. Like, it doesn't just follow suit with the rest of the series.
Right.
So yeah, I'm going to go with the rape scene with the nobles. I just didn't appreciate it. It didn't add anything. Like, I can accept it if it's beneficial to the show, but it wasn't beneficial to anything.
Yep, I agree.
Before we continue, I think this is a good time to take a quick break.
Hey Toasties, I'm Missy, here with my bestie Johnsy.
Hey y'all.
Do you like mind-blowing crime cases, spooky tales, and debating theories?
Well, what a coinky-dink, so do we. Grab your beverage and be a part of our Toasted Shenanigans on your favorite podcast app.
You can even send us a story or drink suggestion. Hit us up on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or at toastedshenanigans.com.
Hey, this is Tyler, one of the hosts of RangerCast. On our show, we talk about Power Rangers and other multi-unit spandex heroes. We've got news, reviews, interviews. We talk about the comics, the games, the toys, and all things more phenomenal. Find us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or check us out at rangercast.net. May the power protect you.
And welcome back from our break. So we just got done telling you what we didn't necessarily like about this series. So let's tell you what we did like about this series. And I'll start with mine. Matt, you said you did not like the rape scene.
Yep.
My favorite scene was within the rape scene.
Okay.
Obviously not necessarily the rape itself.
Let's say this again. It was not that scene.
Yes.
It was after.
It was Yu-Gi-Oh! Fighting through his error code.
Yep.
His eye bursting, him wanting to fight for what's right.
Yep.
You know, morality versus law. And he you're not supposed to break through that error code.
Yep.
And he did. And he chopped through second seat, whatever fucking faces, and he chopped off his arm.
Dick face.
Yeah, that's as good of a name. And I loved that vengeance.
Just desserts. He got his justice
exactly
against him, and it was necessary. I did enjoy that part. You know, I wish he would have died, but you know, we can't all get.
Yeah, I wish
want.
he would have died too, because that little bitch ran away and told on him. I mean,
it wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have mattered because those floating head thingies, I don't remember what they're called, the administrators, not necessarily administrators.
They're the council members.
They saw the whole thing anyway.
Yeah, that's how Alice knew to arrest him.
Right. And it's not because the dude escaped and was able to tell Tattle. It was because
be a little bitch.
A law was broken. Literally anybody is going to be found out if they break a law. And that's why the taboo index is so powerful. And it's because you don't fuck with it.
Yes.
The Pontifex has got that shit on.
They're always watching you.
Always watching.
Okay. Yeah, no, I that part was good.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The rape scene did not need to happen.
That part was fine.
But I understand where they went with it.
Yes, they could have easily tied the girls down and then, you know.
Well, it's not like it. Okay, never mind. I'm not even going to try to defend it.
No, I mean, I get it, but they could have easily just been like, oh, this is what's going to happen to him. And then Yu-Gi-Oh is able to break through eventually when like they're walking towards him or something. But no, they had to they had to do what they did. Anyway, for me, I think I think my favorite one was Kirito getting his black suit back, like his
SAO1 suit.
Yeah, his SAO1 suit, costumes, whatever you want to call it, during the fight with Pontifex.
Yeah, I thought it was forced and unnecessary. It kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, 100%.
But I did love that it came back.
Yes, I think it was just very iconic.
Yep.
I enjoyed seeing it, and there was a lot of good moments in this series, but it's really hard to be like, yep, that's my absolute favorite moment. Like, there was just a lot of good moments. I don't know if there was any one that absolutely stood out to me.
Yeah. It was easy for me because kind of like revenge/vengeance. That's an easy
fuck
one
them
for me.
guys.
Yeah. It's kind of, yeah. I'll lean towards that one.
Yeah. No, I get it. I thought it was really cool seeing Yu-Gi-Oh use his recollection and seeing that. I thought was really cool. I was going to say Kirito's, but we don't get to see Kirito's.
He doesn't, yeah, does he release recollection? Because we see release armament.
Yeah,
we don't get to see recollection.
No, we don't get to see that.
Okay, so speaking on Kirito's release armament.
Yes.
His was basically a sword get longer. You know,
yes,
that's
absolutely.
all it was. It was Kuwabara's sword get longer.
But it actually worked, unlike Kuwabara.
Yeah. His was a big power blast. Like, he did it twice, right? And the second time he did it, like, it was literally just a big stab.
Yes. So one thing I will say is I liked the fact that the more you believed in your...
imagination.
Yeah, the power of imagination.
Yes. That was a big portion of my notes.
I like the fact that they just kept playing on it, and it wasn't just... It was so easy to then be like, oh, Kirito used the power of imagination, just rainbows, and then just a one time off. That's it. I like the fact that it was like, oh yeah, no, the nobles, they believe in their lineage and being a complete douchebag, so that's why he's so strong. And I'm drawing a blank on who his mentor went against, but him believing in the lineage of this ability, and that's why he's so strong. I like the fact that they kept playing on it, and it's essentially a weakened down version of advanced armament.
Yeah.
So
I was totally on board with it. At first, of course, it was a giggle.
Yes.
Imagination, boosting power, that's
the power of
hilarious.
Imagination.
Yeah. But at the same time, you're like, that's willpower. You know, if you think about in reality, if you think you can do it and you actually start pushing yourself to your limits, that's essentially your imagination.
What good thought process is, you know, we live in Wisconsin. It's cold. If you think you're cold, you're going to be cold.
Right.
If you don't think you're cold, to an extent, you're not going to be cold.
Yep.
If it's -20, you're going to be cold, I promise you.
Yeah, there's no breaking that.
But
we're still human.
If it's 0, I'm not saying it's warm, but it's not necessarily cold either.
Yeah, zero's
that cutoff. I'm not saying it's warm. Not absolutely no saying it's warm. But
you know what? It could be -20 out as long as there's no wind.
Playing 100%
I'm sure I can handle it. Wind is the killer. That is bottom line.
Very Midwestern of you. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those, it's a mindset thing, and it makes complete sense. I like it. I did find it funny when Kirito's sword grew through the power of imagination.
Yeah.
But it's whatever. I just looked past it. It didn't really change anything, minus when he was stabbing the Pontifex, but still, doesn't matter. Or not the Pontifex, Chu.
Oh, yeah, minus, that's when he used the sword get longer. He stabbed he used, like the heart of his...
when he stabbed Chidoken using a phase saber thing, that's what killed him, not when Alice stabbed him in the same place. Yes.
Yeah, that didn't count.
No, it didn't count. He needed to get stabbed by Kirito. But I don't remember where I was going with that, so fuck it.
We need to talk about the Cardinal before things get way too far out of place, because
beyond her braids that she no longer had, yes.
Besides her daggers that she made that might have or might not have been effective.
So the handles were made of her braids.
Oh, the handles. Okay, that's all it.
No, I'm just making that up.
Okay, I wasn't on board with that, because that would make more sense as far as the anime is concerned.
Absolutely make more sense, but it doesn't work like that. Nope.
All right, so like in episode 10, 11, somewhere around that range, when the Cardinal saves Yu-Gi-Oh and Kirito from the fight with number 31. Eldria, thank you.
The one I keep thinking of, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She drops so much goddamn information in that next episode when she's talking to Kirito in that library.
Okay.
It took me a couple times to fully understand like every single word she was saying, but a lot of information got dropped between the Pontifex, between what's her name? Charlotte the spider, following them from the beginning.
Yep.
So if anybody is confused on the beginning of the series when there was a female voice in the background.
That was not Charlotte.
No, that was Charlotte.
No, it wasn't.
It was not.
No.
It was Charlotte.
No.
They explained it 100% in this episode.
No.
Don't say Alice.
So it is and it isn't Alice.
No, it's
not
Alice.
It's the memory of Alice that.
No, they said come find me on the top floor or whatever.
Yeah, that was the memory of Alice.
No, that was Charlotte.
No.
Because Cardinal is on the top floor.
No, she's not.
She's everywhere.
But that's not the top floor of this central cathedral.
But Alice isn't also on the top floor. She was on like the 30th or whatever.
But you have to remember, the memory of Alice is on the top floor. It's in the crystals of the Pontifex.
Oh, good defense.
I'm talking strictly the memories of Alice.
Yes, I okay. Now that you're saying that, the little shards on the top of the...
So what got taken away from
ceiling?
Alice when she became an Integrity Knight is what saved Kirito and eventually Yu-Gi-Oh!
I like your defense, but I still think it was Charlotte.
No, it wasn't Charlotte. The only thing Charlotte
Because
did...
Charlotte did specifically find them.
Yes.
They did explain that.
But remember, in the flashback in which Kirito is talking about a way in which Charlotte helped, he specifically thought of the only instance in which she was moving his hair to escape Eldrier.
Wait, I thought you were talking about something different than you said there.
Remember when they were running away from Eldrier and she moved his hair? That is the flashback he thought of.
That he thought of?
Kirito thought of. So they were talking about how Charlotte had saved them. Kirito thought of one instance, which was when they were running away from Eldrier.
Yeah. And that's where Charlotte did help him at that moment.
Yes.
But Cardinal also explained that she had gone further back and helped him even further yet.
So she had talked about how she had been looking for 200 years to find somebody, but the Charlotte didn't have anything to do with the goblins.
I mean, not necessarily goblins.
So remember, that voice that Kirito heard didn't really do anything except for find me on the 200th floor, or find me on the top floor, which would be where Alice is.
The memory shards.
So
that makes so much more sense. On my second watch through, I'm like, oh, that makes sense that's Charlotte. But fuck, now that you're saying this, now I'm contradicting what?
Because Charlotte would have never been on the top floor of the cathedral.
Yeah, but she's also in the Forbidden Library that's literally anywhere. So that's where my mind went.
But it's not the top floor because that's where the Pontifex is.
Right.
They're not going to go.
That's a very specific location.
Yeah, she's not going to go to the Pontifex.
Okay, I'll give you that one. That's more logic.
And why would they make it in the shape of Alice if it wasn't Alice?
For two reasons, I thought that. One, because they want the viewers to get fucked up with. And two, it was a female voice. So maybe Kirito would just imagine that it was potentially
But he doesn't
Alice.
know who Alice is at that point.
Right, but still.
So it'd be pointless to make it Alice.
It's not like he saw.
Yes, he did. He essentially saw.
It was behind him. When that voice came, it was behind him. He didn't see it with his own eyes.
No. It's 100% Alice.
I know. I'm poking holes in this, and
yes.
But at the same...
Yeah, it's Alice. It's the memory of Alice.
Okay. Because
it doesn't do anything. In all actuality, it does nothing.
Right.
Except for do exactly what they were going to do anyway.
Yeah, it was part of the storyline anyway.
It didn't change anything. And that's okay.
It's funny because your thought, not your thought process, your explanation right now that has convinced me was my original thought process. And then when I rewatched it, I'm like, oh, that's the fucking spider. And then now here we are again. You're turning me back. Then it was Alice all along, just like you were originally supposed to think.
Yes.
Okay.
And like you said, the small detail is find me on the top floor.
Yeah, which is the thing I can't get away from. So
yes,
that's why I ultimately.
And Yu-Gi-Oh goes with that Alice at the end of the series or at the end of the show.
Yep. Yeah, they both disappear into the abyss.
Yes,
but we don't see their light cubes turn off.
So because Alice is still alive.
Good point.
And Yu-Gi-Oh's the sword.
He is that sword, isn't he?
Yes, he's the sword.
Oh. That's a whole different thing. So we might see him in season 2 then.
I mean, as the sword.
Yeah, I mean, like, we'll hear his voice again, that's for sure.
Probably. That would make sense.
But I mean, if he can if his body transformed into the sword and the sword transformed into, back into his broken body.
Well, I think his body's gone. I don't think he's going to be able to keep transforming. That wouldn't make sense. It would take away from his sacrifice.
True.
If he could just keep transforming back and forth.
That's true. Okay.
But nothing says that, the essence of Yu-Gi-Oh can't come forward.
Right.
Because the power of imagination.
Yeah. I do 100% expect to have some kind of influence from Yu-Gi-Oh in the next season.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe he can't come back to life because that would kind of...
It would take away.
It would minimize everything of this last part of the season 1.
Yeah, it would really piss off a lot of people.
Exactly.
If you could just transform back into a person and be like, oh, hey, hi, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to kind of bring up was I think Yu-Gi-Oh died when Alice was taken away.
Really? Okay.
I think that's what the ending was representing.
Like when he was a child?
Yeah, I think he not physically died, but he was dead inside.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
When Alice died, and then when he came back, like the whole purpose of him finding Alice was to either be reborn or to sacrifice himself, which is what we see because Alice is no longer Alice that he knows.
Right.
And so now he needs to sacrifice himself because he is, in essence, already dead. And I think that's what the symbolism that we saw was.
I can see that. I mean, it sounds a little extreme, but at the same time, when Alice was taken away from him, he essentially got his entire life taken away from him.
Yep.
So I can see that. I can see where you're going with that. Also, now that you're saying like death kind of whatever, it sparked a little thing in me. Like if Cherdokin died and released Bercoli's deep freeze,
yep.
When the Pontifex died, why didn't all of the knights get their crystals taken away?
Because the crystals were physical objects versus just system commands. So it'd be like...
but it was made through a system command.
Yeah, but it was its own power source through the Integrity Knights. It'd be like if you were holding... So remember when they were making light out of the flowers?
Yeah.
Making the light flowers in the cave.
Was...
No, not...
Oh, not those flowers?
In the cave to produce light.
Oh, like literally making light.
Yes.
Producing light.
Yes.
Okay. I thought you were like trying to say something. Okay, producing light, yep.
I would take that as it will produce light for as long as you hold it, and then once you let it go, the light's gone.
Yeah, and they showed that.
So...
as soon as Yu-Gi-Oh got slashed, he let go of that thing and the light went away.
So to me, the deep freeze is the same concept, where as long as you can keep pouring magic into it, it'll be good. But once your magic is gone, the magic that produced it is gone as well. Versus the crystals within the Integrity Knights is now getting powered by the Integrity Knights. It's no longer getting powered by the Pontifex because she has inserted it into the objects.
Right.
In that case.
I do get where you're going with this, but I also want to... We don't have to do it any further, but at the same time, I also question, like, why doesn't that crystal start to disintegrate itself? Because it was formed by her.
Yes. No, it makes sense. I'm just forcing it to make sense in another.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, I mean, maybe we'll see our Integrity Knights become more
Yeah, maybe they start regaining their memories. That'd be nice.
Or regain... Yeah, exactly. Or even go that route. I was going to say, like, just be more independent, but...
Well, they're going to be because they no longer have the church to tell them what to do.
Exactly. Yeah, so the independence was going to be, like, a given, but, like, slowly start to... because the Pontifex was saying, like, every 100 years she needed to erase everybody's minds because they would start to question too much and maybe some memories were starting to poke through. So, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be something. Maybe in season 2 we start getting some memories.
Uh-huh.
Bercoli, I don't know what memories he's going to have because he's been around for 200 years.
Right.
So everybody that he loved is gone.
Good point, yeah.
But that doesn't mean, he couldn't... The village So remember the village, Ruid?
Ruid, yep.
That village was founded because of Bercoli, so maybe that region gives him some memories to remember or something along those lines. I don't know, I'm spitballing things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty important little tiny town for this entire world of this virtual reality.
Yep.
A lot of stuff coming out of it.
So I guess one thing that I kind of want to mention is just the calling aspect of this beginning of the show. Like, what do you make of that? I'll be completely honest, I would hate life. It's like, oh, you're born. This is your calling. This is what you're doing.
Right.
It's like, oh, all right. Cool.
It sounds super primitive.
Yes.
That's what sucks about it.
Yes. Because it'd be one of those things where if you got a calling that was like, you're going to be a gardener. Okay. I guess I'm just planting flowers. Like, especially, could you imagine if they had a calling that was something that they didn't enjoy doing?
Like being an elevator operator or something.
Yeah. It's like, oh, hey, don't you enjoy this? I don't know. It's just something I do. Okay. Can you bring me to the top floor?
Yep.
Okay. This is my job. This is what I do.
No. Yeah, that sounds absolutely miserable.
Coming from somebody who's had multiple different types of jobs, I'll be completely honest, I still don't even know 100% if this is what I want to do. Like,
for the rest of your life until retirement.
Yeah, you get some people that are like, day one, I knew what I was doing. And then me, I'm like, I mean, sure. Yeah, cool. Maybe.
Well, the difference between doing what you want to do and doing what you need to do is really what it comes down to, like money.
Yeah. Well, yes.
What do you want on your side life? Like, what do you want to do when you're not working? Is what my personal life comes down to.
Yes.
Like, I want to do so much more. So I'm going to do my job so that I can do what I want to do after my job.
But wouldn't it be better to be able to have those side things be your job?
Yeah. Yeah.
But they also say, a good example to me is like when you are a mechanic. A lot of times you're a mechanic because you love working on cars.
True.
And then they're like, yeah, don't become a mechanic because then you'll hate working on cars.
You're going to hate doing what you love. But at the same time, you do take a certain level of pride.
Yes, but it's a very thin line.
Sure.
Like, it's really, because it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I love working on cars. Okay, yeah, I'm going to now become a guy that, builds drag cars. It's like, oh, cool. That's fun. I love doing it every single day. Or it's, I'm going to be a mechanic at a dealership and I'm going to hate life, but it makes money. So it's a very thin line where, it's just very hard to be able to do what you love and not hate life.
Right.
Because then it starts ruining the thing that you love.
Right. Yeah. To become jaded would suck.
Yeah. Like, I know doing this all the time sounds amazing. If this is what we did all the time and made money, would we still love it? Like that, it's a very thin line between, I can guarantee you we would still enjoy it, but there's probably also just as many people that are like, yeah, once I started making money and it became a job, I no longer enjoyed it.
Yep.
And it probably happens everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where in this case, because I'm curious how they get chosen their calling. I know you had brought that up, and I'm wondering how it gets picked because, man, cutting down a tree, or not even cutting down a tree, swinging an axe at a tree every day.
Yeah, well, that was generational. And, for all we know, it could have just been like
pull a name out of a hat and kind of...
Yeah, I was going to say, like, hey, this job kind of needs to be done around this area. So the next person that needs a calling, this is what it's going to be.
So the last guy died. Whoever is the next of age is going to get it. And
it's like... Get in rotation, man.
Yeah, I absolutely do not need to know how callings become a thing, but it'd be interesting. I wouldn't have complained if we got it.
Right.
But it wasn't needed. It would not have been needed to know how it became a thing. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, yep, that's a thing. I would have hated life. But, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I couldn't cut a tree down. Oh, man, was it 2,000 swings a day?
Yeah, I think... But by the time Kirito came back as, his teenage self, it was 2,000 a day.
Yeah, because it was 1,000 before lunch and 1,000 after lunch.
Yep. Which was funny because I'm pretty sure it was like, oh my God. If I had my notes on me, it was like 50 or 100 as a child. And then it's dramatically exploded to 2,000 in 6 years.
Well, he's an adult, so it's got to be 8 hours a day versus like 4, so it's okay.
There's that too. All right, so this is kind of going to sum up our conclusions for this episode. We'd like to thank you for listening to us this far. If you have, please make sure to leave us a rating on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Also, again, we are brought to you by The Anime Show, so please find them on Facebook and Instagram and stay up to date with everything anime related and get updated with all of that awesome content. We also have our short flights on YouTube, so please go find them and follow us there because we talk about hot new anime out every season, and we will catch you guys next time.